Shed Hacks. Today we're going to talk about and discuss some high-end carpentry and joinery, and we brought you into another room in the house near the shed, obviously, to talk about this high-end piece of furniture my father made for myself and my wife many years ago. And this shows some really excellent high-end skills in carpentry, and you can see it's a grandmother clock, full size, all handmade, all very precisely handcrafted. All the mouldings have been made by hand, and any machine work, even the moulding cutters have been actually machined themselves by my father. So it's a really good example of carpentry and joinery. And this whole clip today is all going to be about the beginner's guide really to types of wood joints that we use. So let me just take you behind the clock. So Jake, if you go to that side, and I'll just slide off the top, and Jake, would you show the mechanism behind? Very expensive Westminster chime mechanism, all very carefully crafted. Okay, and you can see the pendulum, which Jake finds fascinating, and I'm holding the hood part here, which I'll slide on. Look at that, I can slide that on very carefully. There, and you can see all the mouldings being produced very carefully, and all the jointing methods there. There's a mortise and tenon, I think, there, or it could be a bridle type joint. Okay, so that's the beginning of the clip, and we're going to go back into the shed 20 or 30 feet away, and we'll talk about the various types of wood joints that we'll be using in some of our projects, and some that you've been asking me recently about. Great, see you in a minute.
Hi Dad, how's it going?
Oh, hi Jake. Yeah, no, doing a little bit of research on our wood joints. There's quite a lot to know actually, Jake. I think I might have bitten a bit too much off there, really, as they say. But anyway, I've laid out a range of joints that we've done over the years, and let's see if it makes some sense to our viewers. I've done a little bit of research, Jake, over here, and you can see from this book here, and I've made some notes here, there's so many different joints. There's hundreds of them. Comb, corner bridle, key mitre, loose tongue and mitre, mitre half, there's loads of them. Haunch joints, scarf joints, never even heard some of these. But and I've got a brilliant book here, Edge to Edge Joint. It's about how you can make the joints. So just very briefly, shed hackers, let me take you through. We're a cross halving joint here, where two points are halved together to make a cross, and I'll show you that in a minute. In fact, I'm going to make some of these joints with you guys. I can make some little products with it. There's a dovetail joint, look. It's a sort of a lapped dovetail, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then we've got the haunch, mortise and tenon. The tenon's the part that sticks out. There are, Jake, just focus on that. That's the tenon part. And the haunch is often a piece of material you take off, so you can actually have a joint right to the very side of the joint, the piece of timber. And actually that allows the joint to be very strong because it's got even more gluing area. And then you've got the good old comb joint. And you talked to me about that earlier. What's another name for the comb joint, Joe?
Box joint as well, or
Yeah.
finger joint.
Look at that. There, look at how parallel that is. So precise. So that's a kind of box joint, you say, a new one to me. Yeah. And it talks about method and getting yourself organised, making sure you've got the right materials. Yeah, it really is quite a science. Look at that table being made, and just focusing on that. Look at the joints. Haunch, mortise and tenon joints, and the little buttons holding the top on, very cleverly made, and the tapered leg, look, to make it look really precise and well made, of course. What a book this is. I mean, guys, go online and see where you can buy a book like this. Look at that lovely table, frame table there. I think all with bridle joints on the sides, more than likely, look, or mortise and tenon, haunched again. Yeah, very clever. Some of these are machined out by, look at this one, by a circular saw. These are all mortise and tenon. Splendid piece of work, that. And look at those photos there, Jay. Aren't they great? Anyway, and the good old dovetail. Everyone knows a dovetail because it obviously looks like a dovetail in its construction. But yeah, we're going to go back to that book. Lovely book. Anyway, coming round, Jake. So let's do a few examples. So that could be a chair leg, and that's a mortise and tenon. That's the tenon part, and that's the mortise, and you can see that goes in there. Lovely. And I'm going to make a little table or chair, I think, with you on that one. And there's another one here where there's no haunch to it. It's just a sort of full thickness tenon, if you like. And then we've got bridle. I'm going to do a little demo on that. Oh, look there. That's a T-bridle joint. Look at that. That's a very strong joint. Okay. And then, going back to the halving joint. There we are, halving joint. Isn't that clever? So I had a bit of a job making some of these because you learn as you go. And that, there you go. Could be used as a coaster, couldn't it, for cups or hard saucepans. And this is a stopped haunched housing joint. There's the haunch. Funny name. All come from somewhere. Maybe even a Latin word. I have to look that up. And that is designed so you can't see the joint from the front. Clever that, actually. Yeah. This is a single dovetail, it says. And this is a single dovetail shape. Quite an attractive joint. All this is made in sustainable pine wood steel. And that is a comb joint. Moving on quickly, double joint. Moving on there, Jake, just move over there. So not the camera. That is a single dovetail. Again, in a thicker bit of timber. Look at that. That's a very strong joint, a dovetail. You can only pull it out from one direction. And if that's glued, that's it. The only way you're going to get that apart is breaking it. And there's a multi one. There's two dovetails. Often you see these in high quality furniture, high end stuff. A lot of skill goes into making these joints. Yeah, a lot of skill. I'll try and do, and these ones I've made, but I'll do some with you. Another clip. There's that lapped dovetail there. A strong, versatile joint. Cool, I've made that so tight I can hardly get it back. There you go. Alright, so that could be even better pushed in. And some of these, look, we did that with the Shed Hacks little mini boat project, didn't we? Okay, so rebate or housing joint in some way. There's another one. Lapped housing joint. Okay, back here, Jake. Dowel joint with the two pieces of dowel. That's actually being glued. Oh, it's so tight, can't get it apart. Okay, moving on, Jake, down the table there a bit more. This one here, I noticed, I've called it a machine routed finger joint. And do you know why? That is why. Can you see that? That shape. There. Can you see? It's sort of spline shape. And they've joined two bits of timber together to make one long one. Oh, you can see it more clearly there, can't you? The light. Yeah, clever that. Modern technology. And then with this one, you see these in picture frames. A lapped corner joint. Or you see these in picture frames. A mitre joint. Mitre. Look at that. They're not structural joints, they're not very strong. You just have to glue them together. And that's a much stronger joint, of course, because you've got that gluing area, haven't you? But that wouldn't be. You'd have to have some sort of nailing system across the back. You can even have joints where you put what they call a little wooden biscuit in. It is made out of plywood, and that's sunken in there in a little rebate, and it's another rebate or cuts put in there, and they're sunken together, and it sinks in there and it joins it. Okay, and that's got a biscuit joint. You have to cut a slot in there. Okay, and I think, there's a little piece of dowel. It's a big version of what would have gone in there. Okay, Jake's nudging me. We're running out of time now, Jake.
Well, I was just going to say, don't mix up your wooden biscuits with your edible biscuits.
Oh no, not a digestive biscuit. No, that would be a bit Burkish, wouldn't it, Jake?
Yes.
Still, last thing, a little bit about timber. That's where not a branch would have come out. Look at the damage it leaves to the timber. So you've got to avoid bits like this if it's going to be used in a structural situation. That means where it has to actually hold some weight or some force, or take some force. So you have to be very careful about selecting your timber. And also at this point in the timber, things can change over time. It can shrink and crack and so forth. But yeah, you can clearly see where the branch would have come out at some point. Okay. Anything else, Jake? Was there anything else I could talk about?
Don't think you.
No. Okay. Well,
Don't
there's,
think
of course,
so.
all these jointing methods we end up using. There's one, isn't it? Housing joint or rebate joint, perhaps. Lots of them in the projects we use. Yeah, housing joint. Okay, shed hackers. Great talking to you again. Come back to you soon. Final clip. Hear the names. Try and learn the names. Housed, rebate, lapped, dovetail. Can you see that? See the dovetail there? Cone. They're just square joints. That's a shed door. Single dovetail. A single dovetail again. These aren't joined. Well, there's the housing joint. Look, we could make that. Might even do that. It's a little project. Ooh, ooh. There you go. Full width mortise tenon. Often used in tables. Actually, that it may be stopped here. Actually, so it's got a, like I say, a haunch on it. Mortise tenon there. There's the tenon and the mortise used on tables. Bridle. There's a spelling, Jake. Bridle. If Jake just goes to the spelling so you can see his spellings. Did you get dowel as well? Dowel, yeah. And dowel that's a piece of dowel. Yeah, dowel joint. You got lapped, did you? Rebate, mitre. Look at the spelling of mitre. French word. Mitre. R-E. Okay, shut this door, Jake. And then that spline finger routed joint. Have we covered them all? I bet there's some we've missed, haven't we?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, you call that the box joint as well, the comb joint,
Yeah.
didn't you? Just
It's
straight
because
into-
it's commonly used in boxes.
Now guys, just finishing with, of course, these would be glued with PVA. And the PVA is that white water-based glue. And the PVA combined with the joint detail gives you a very strong joint. And the more complicated the joint, the more glue, and therefore the tougher the joint is. Okay, and that's the reason why we have joints, of course. You had a question for me, Jake?
Yes, so why can't we just normally like glue these joints?
Well, actually, that is a good question. You'll find that every joint has a particular reason. And if you look in certain books, like this one, it tells you why a certain joint will be used over another joint. And often, it's because the characteristics, the features of that joint allow it to be a stronger or more suitable in a certain situation. Maybe a staircase, or a roof frame, or a jewellery box, or a clock, like my father's. I mean, here's, look, very quickly, Jake, look at this little sort of very quick joint. There's a comb joint, very simple one, little 2 or 3 hour project. There you go, that's made in oak. Shouldn't be using oak, guys, should we? Only sustainable timbers now, guys. So, hope you enjoy that bit. See you later.
Just before we go, don't mix up your PVA with your milk.
Very funny, Jake.